Welcome to Food for Thought. Today we're going to discuss a hot topic that I've seen in a few articles around the internet stating that eating less meat is the best thing you can do for the planet in 2019. According to the articles, methane gas emissions from cows, fertilizers, combined with deforestation to make way for livestock creates more greenhouse gas emissions than all the world's cars, trucks, and airplanes combined. It also makes the assertion that in the Western countries, we need to decrease our meat consumption by 90% to stave off climate change. What are the solutions they're proposing? Taxing red meat, going vegan, or consuming vegetarian lab-grown meat. The question I have is, are these concerns valid? Let's first take a look at the greenhouse gas emissions claim. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the largest sources of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions in 2016 were electricity production at 28%, transportation at 28%, and industry at 22%. All of agriculture accounted for a total of 9%. All of animal agriculture contributes less than half this amount, representing 3.9% of the total U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. That's very different from claiming livestock represents as much or more than transportation. But why the misconception? In 2006, the Food and Agriculture Organization for the UN published a study titled Livestock's Long Shadow, which received widespread international attention. In fact, the Netflix documentary Cowspiracy bases some of its arguments off this study. In this study, it stated that livestock produced a staggering 18% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. The agency drew a startling conclusion. Livestock was doing more to harm the climate than all modes of transportation combined. In the study, they considered every factor associated with producing meat. This included emissions from fertilizer production, converting land from forests to pastures, growing feed, and direct emissions from animals, such as belching and manure. However, when they looked at transportation's carbon footprint, they completely ignored impacts on climate from manufacturing vehicle parts and materials, assembling vehicles, and maintaining roads, bridges, and airports. Instead, they only considered the exhaust emitted by finished cars, trucks, trains, and planes. As a result, the FAO's comparison of greenhouse gas emissions from livestock to those from transportation was greatly distorted. To be fair, the FAO has since admitted the error, but this misinformation is still getting spread. So if they're not responsible for the majority of the greenhouse gas emissions, what about cows being the cause of the increased methane gas emissions we've been seeing? There have been multiple studies on this, but overall, methane production globally is out of balance due to sinks we have in the environment that neutralize the methane gas. In case you're not sure what a sink is, it's a natural system that sucks up and stores CO2 or methane and other greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. Also, according to one study by NASA, where they were observing satellite data of methane emissions, they found that methane from cows and cattle in the U.S. has been steady or even declining. In fact, the more we learn about animal grazing healthy soil and well-managed grazing on perennial grasslands, we find they cut carbon, which further offset any greenhouse gases generated by livestock on the land. Lastly, according to one study, even if all the U.S. eliminated meat from their diet, greenhouse gases would only reduce by 2.6%. In another study done at UC Davis, they found that if the U.S. did meatless Mondays, it would only reduce emissions by 0.5%. Therefore, with these small to negligible percentages, you not eating meat is not going to save the climate. But what about cattle and the deforestation of land? Well, let's take a look at this. You have to remember, deforestation is a very complex issue. There is not just one direct cause. You have sugarcane production, soy production, ethanol production, palm oil production, and then you have politics dictating what they're going to subsidize for land. In fact, according to the Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies, it depends on which area of the globe you are studying to know which are the driving factors of deforestation. Industrial agriculture is only responsible for 30% of deforestation in Africa and Asia, but close to 70% in Latin America. I would also like to note that the FAO is now suggesting fighting climate change with grasslands, which would include them being grazed on by cattle. So if we're not going to give up meat, what can we do? According to a professor from UC Davis, Frank Mitloehner, professor of animal science and air quality extension specialist at UC Davis, he believes that meat will be a big factor in meeting nutritional requirements for the world globally as the population increases, especially since animal protein is more nutrient dense than the vegetarian options. He feels the solution is looking at efficiency in animal agriculture by starting with science-based facts. To further support his idea is the fact that since 1961 in the U.S., greenhouse gases from livestock production has decreased by 11.3%, while the production of livestock meat has more than doubled, proving that we can come up with ways to improve our farming to be less impactful on the environment. I will end this video with this quick thought. Rather than marginalize one industry, we need to come up with solutions that include livestock and agriculture, creating a sustainable food supply chain. We can only do this when we look at hard science and then make decisions. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for when I post new content. Thank you.